أولى ثانوي. فرصة جديدة وحلم جديد وهنعديها بالتأكيد، وهنعديها بالتأكيد. أولى ثانوي.
Dear secondary stage students, year 1, welcome to our English program and welcome to our channel مدرستنا 3 under the supervision of the Ministry of Education. أعزائي طلبة وطالبات الصف الأول الثانوي، أهلا ومرحبا بكم وحلقة جديدة وقناتكم مدرستنا 3 تحت إشراف وزارة التربية والتعليم. Today we are going to continue Unit 3. This is part 3. And you remember the unit, it's called Improving Lives. And we read about Charles Dickens' David Copperfield. It's a story written by Charles Dickens. In this part of the unit, we are going to learn how to write a short story. This is a part of writing, so we are going to learn how to write a short story or how to write a summary of a book. We are going to learn ways to make suggestions how to improve people's lives. And we are going also to learn about Treasure Island. We're going to learn the vocab and use it in new situations. Let's start our lesson together. So our objectives for today is to write a short story, make a summary of a book, make suggestions, and use the new vocab in the story. Let's start together with how to write a short story. When we want to write a short story, of course, we have to decide, first of all, the time and the place. This is we call the setting of the story. So we decide the time and the place. So we say, for example, this story happens in the old times, or it's in the modern times, or it's in the future. So we talk about the time and the place of the story. Then we decide the characters. What are the main characters of our story? The characters are the people, the hero of our story, the people who will participate or take part in this story. Then we are going to decide the problem. What is the problem? What is the problem which the characters will deal with? So we are going to decide the problem which will face the characters. And then we will find a solution to this problem. Okay? After that, there is a surprise at the end of the story. In order to be exciting for our story, we have to add a surprise at the end. So if we look again at this diagram on the screen, so this is a mind map when we want to write, if you are asked in the exam to write a story, a short story, you have to draw this mind map. You are going to write what is the story is called. So the name of the story in the middle, and then you are going to decide the place, the time, the problem, the characters, how will the characters deal with this problem, and the surprise at the end. So let's here write brief notes about our story. If we want to write a story, part 1, you are going to write when and where the story happens. This is we call the setting, the time and the place, when and where the story happens, and when we meet the characters. In part 2, we are going to make the main character has a problem, and then something goes wrong with him, and then he tries to find a solution. In part 3, the problems are solved and everything is okay again. And here is a surprise. In the last part of our story, we finally find out what happened to our characters and how will they deal and what their future will be. Now I want every one of you to write a summary of a book or a film you have seen. Write a short summary about it in order to learn how to write a story. First of all, write about a story you know or a film you have seen. So when you write a good summary, when you first start writing a good summary, here are some tips for you. First, read the text quickly. read the text of the story quickly, or watch the film well. Then read it again and underline the key information. So read the text quickly and get the main ideas. You only take the main ideas which you are going to talk about in the summary. After that, read it again and underline any important information. Number 3, write the information down in the correct order. And then revise your summary. Revise if there is any mistake. And do not include your opinion. So this is my advice on how to write a good summary of a book. Of course, you don't include your opinion. It's a summary of the book, so it's the opinion of the writer, not your own opinion. Okay, so I want every one of you either to write a short story or to write a summary of a book. Let's move to the second part. It's how to make suggestions. How to suggest. If you wanted to suggest ways to help the homeless people. Homeless people are people who don't have homes. They live in the street. How can we help them? So here, why don't you try buying them new clothes? This is a suggestion. We can buy them new clothes. So why don't we buy them new clothes? This is a way to make a suggestion. Another way is, how about teaching them to read and write? Why don't you teach them to read and write? Or how about teaching them to read and write? You notice here that why don't you is followed by infinitive, lekin how about is followed by verb ing. So we say, how about teaching them? How about teaching them? It's a good idea. How about teaching them to read and write? Okay. We have another suggestion. You could work for a charity. If you wanted to help people, you could work for a charity. And you know the word charity. Charity is an organization which helps poor people. That sounds good to me. So here, how can we suggest? We can say, why don't you? How about let's, you could, or I think you should. طيب الرد بقى على السجشن. To accept this suggestion, you can say, that sounds good. That sounds good to me. Or it's a good idea. Now we have another situation, how to help all the people. I really want to help all the people. So how can we help all the people? Why don't you go shopping with them? This is a good idea. We can go shopping with them to carry their shopping. How about listening to their stories? You know that all the people always want someone to listen to their stories. So how about listening to their stories? Another suggestion is you could take them out for a walk. You could take them out to have some fresh air. So these are different suggestions. So we can say, why don't you go shopping? How about listening to their stories? Or you could take them out. So the answer is, that's really a good idea. That's really a good idea. So here we have a summary of how to make a suggestion. First of all, why don't you? Why don't you is followed by verb infinitive. I think you should. Again, should is followed by verb infinitive. You could. Again, you could is followed by verb infinitive. And we can say let's. Let's is followed by verb infinitive. We have other ways followed by ing, like how about. So we can say how about plus verb ing. So we can say, why don't you go shopping with them? I think you should go shopping with them. Let's go shopping with them. Or how about going shopping with them? So these are different ways to suggest. What about the answer? If you accept this suggestion, if you accept these ideas, you will say, yes, that's a good idea. Yes, that's a good idea. Or, yes, I agree. I agree with you. We can say, that sounds good to me. That sounds good. Again, that sounds good means it's a good idea. I was thinking exactly the same myself. I was thinking exactly the same myself. So these are different ways to accept ideas. But if we refuse the ideas, Of course, if we accept, we say, yes, that's a good idea. Yes, I agree. That sounds good to me. I was thinking exactly the same, or okay, let's do that. If we refuse the suggestion, we can say, I am not sure if it is a good idea. That sounds nice, but, or the only problem is that. Now we are going to do some exercise on how to suggest. First of all, why go to a museum? Of course, we have many expressions to suggest. One of them begins with why. So we can say, why about, or why don't we, or let's, or shall we? Of course, we have different ways. If we say about, it's how about, or what about. If we say why, we say why don't we. So why don't we is a different way. We can say why don't we go. Like if we say what about or how about, we will say what about going or how about going. Question number 2, let's. Let's is followed by what? By infinitive or ing? Yes, of course, let's is followed by verb infinitive. So we say let's go, let's go, let's go for a meal. How about is followed by infinitive or ing? Yes, excellent, it's followed by ing. So we say how about visiting friends. So again, we say let's is followed by infinitive. How about is followed by ing. Why don't we is followed by infinitive. Why to the cinema tonight? Why to the cinema tonight? Of course, we said it before that why, we say why don't we? And why don't we is followed by infinitive. So we say why don't we go to the cinema tonight? These are different ways to make suggestions. The third part of our lesson today is Treasure Island. Do you remember our story, Treasure Island? This is chapter 3. What happens in chapter 3? Do you remember Jim? Jim, our hero? He overheard some secret plans by Long John Silver. So here we have some vocab which appeared in chapter 3. Read it carefully and study the vocab carefully. Let's see the vocab together. We have the word mutiny. What does the word mutiny means? The word mutiny means when a group of people refuse to obey the person in charge of them. When a group of people disobey or don't follow the rules of their leader, they refuse to obey the leader. So this is mutiny. So in our story in chapter 3, we find that the captain of the ship is afraid that the sailors will have a mutiny against him. They will have a mutiny against him. What's a mutiny? To refuse to obey the rules. اللي هي حالة تمرد أو حالة عصيان إن هم they refuse to obey him. The captain was afraid that the sailors will refuse to obey him. So he was afraid there will be a mutiny. So what's a mutiny? Mutiny when a group of people refuse to obey. Let's see the example here. The captain was afraid there would be a mutiny against him. Okay, another word here, the word harbor. What does it mean, the word harbor? It means a place, as you see in the picture, it's a place where ships stay. It's a place, it's an area of water near land where the ships can stay safely. Let's see a sentence here. The ship was too big to get into the harbor. So the ship was too big, it cannot enter this small harbor. So harbor is the place where the ships stay. We have the word gang. Look at the picture here. The word gang means a group of thieves, a group of criminals, a group of people who cause trouble. So we can say a gang of thieves were arrested while trying to rob the bank. So these are a group of thieves. They are called a gang. A gang means a group of thieves, a group of criminals, a group of people who are against the law. We have the word crutch. What does it mean, the word crutch? Look at this picture. This man is very ill. He has broken his leg and he cannot walk without this stick. This stick is called a crutch. So a special stick to help you walk when you hurt your leg. So when you hold a stick to help you walk, it's a crutch. So let's look at the sentence here. His leg is broken and he cannot walk without a crutch. He cannot walk without this stick, which is called a crutch. We have the word barrel. If you look at the picture here, it's very clear that a barrel is a wooden container. It's a wooden container. It's made of wood. Jim was hiding inside the barrel. So in our story, Jim was hiding inside this barrel and he heard the secret plan. What about the parrot? Of course, it's clear from the picture here. It's a bird which is very colored. It has colored feathers and it can repeat the words of people. So the parrot is always with Long John Silver. You know that Long John Silver is always carrying his rabbit. So the John Silver was always seen with his parrot. What about the word pirate? The word pirate means a sailor who attacks ships and steals from them. A sailor who attacks ships and steals from them. So the pirate means a good or an evil person. He's an evil person. He is a bad person who attacks the ship and steals from them. The pirates attacked the ship and they killed the captain. Let's look at some exercises. A group of attacked the ship and they killed the captain. Who can attack the ship? Of course, very good. It's the pirate. The pirates are the people who attack ships. Question number 2. My daughter has a that can repeat what we say. We said that there is a bird with colored feathers that it can repeat the words. What it is called? It's called, of course, the parrot. The parrot. The parrot is a bird which can repeat the sound of human. Question number 3. One of the sailors led against the captain, but they failed to attack the ship. They led against the captain. We said that there is a situation where people disobey the captain. This is called what? Yes, of course, it's a mutiny. So what's a mutiny? Mutiny, حالة من العصيان. They refuse to obey the rules. So there is a mutiny against the captain. Question number 4. Such large ships cannot stay in this small island, harbor, attack, or patient. Of course, here we said that the place where the ships stay is called, yes, of course, it's the harbor. So the harbor is a place where the ships can stay. So here we have a revision on the vocab of the Treasure Island. So I want you to read the chapter carefully. It's very interesting. And study the vocab because it will be useful for you and it will enrich your vocabulary. Now we are going to study more about how to write a short story, about how to make suggestions and so on, but let's do that on the mirror board. Let's go together. As we have seen today, we can learn more about writing a short story. You know that when we write an essay, there are different kinds of essays. We have descriptive, that's to describe an event. We have argumentative, that we have 2 points of view we want to explain. And we have something very important, that's narrative. Narrative. This kind of essay, narrative, means writing a story. So what's narrative? Means to write a story. And we have taken here how to write a short story. Do you remember what is the most important thing when you write a short story? Of course, first of all, we must know the setting of the story. What's the setting? The word setting means the time and the place. So first of all, we have to decide what is the setting of our story. So what is the time when it happens and the place where it happens? For example, if it is in the old times and the place is the palace of the king, for example. So this is the setting. What about the characters? Of course, we have to decide the characters. So we can say who is the main character of our story and who are the characters which will be beside him. After that, we have to decide the plot of our story. What is the plot? This is a problem which will face the characters and how they will solve it. How the characters will communicate together in order to find a solution. And at last, we have a surprise at the end. Surprise. This is how to end our story in order to make it interesting. So these are the parts of writing a short story. We have to decide the setting, this is the time and the place, the characters, the plot, this is the problem and how we solve it. And finally, we have a surprise and know what will happen to the characters. Okay, so to summarize our lesson today, we have studied how to write a short story. So I want every one of you to try to write a short story or at least a summary of a book. Try to make suggestions on how to help improve people's lives and study the vocab. We mentioned some important vocab like the word harbor, like the word mutiny. It's a new word for you, like the word crutch, which means a stick to help you walk, and so on. So this is all what we have time for today. And till we meet again, wish you best of luck. Goodbye.
أولى ثانوي فرصة جديدة وحلم جديد وهنعديها بالتأكيد